Do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Yeah, that was fast. Actually, it takes longer to process. There we go. Alright. Hello and welcome, dear patrons, to the Tables of Tartarus, a chapter of Purgatory Corner. Today our storyteller is Benny, or AutisDM, on TikTok. Feel free to go check out his content if you guys are interested in D&D and other D&D related content. And today we're going to be continuing the tale of Oceans Ablaze. Come on in, take a seat, and let your imagination run free. As always, if you guys want to check out some of our other content, including our previous series, Adventures into the End Times, feel free to go to that link. There's our Tables of Tartarus, TTRPG, VODs channel, which will have all that content. All right, Benny, if you want to take it away.
Thank you, and thank you for having me as always. I believe where we left off, the party had successfully managed to get the princess out of the palace that was experiencing a coup and make their way through the abandoned temple to what turned out to be Cigna's elder deities, and discovered that the deities either aren't as mean as everybody thought or don't want you to think they are. But either way, you released them onto the world, so you'll find out. Also, there was some question as to the trustworthiness of the princess you were rescuing, and Ace made the entirely well-advised and wise decision to go ahead and trust her. And at the first chance, she escaped from the party and started calling for help, which left you all in the awkward position where you're fleeing to your ship while the entire port is starting to rally against you, with Locke using his little bird guy to set some of the ships on fire and sow chaos as Locke does best. For reasons best known to himself, Ace decided to Misty Step after the princess, and thereby following the cardinal rule of D&D, always split the party.
The best time.
Exactly.
He's still in line of sight. He's not fully split from the party.
Fair enough. Fair point. So before we get into what comes next, we're going to do our usual round of introductions. I'd like everybody to introduce your character's name, your character's classes, this being a Gestalt campaign, each has 2, and race. And the question for the evening is, how long did it take your character to become a level 1 adventurer? Something that's never quite established in the rules. It's really up to the player. Is, for example, if you're a magic user, did you spend years studying magic to learn your craft or find your patron or whatever it was, or were you just a magical prodigy? And I just think knowing that gives us a little bit more insight and depth into our player characters. With that in mind, we'll go ahead and start with Ace.
So Ace is a human rogue and warlock. He's a swashbuckler rogue as well as a hexblade warlock. In terms of how long it took him to become level 1, he probably became level 1 in, let's see, currently he's in his mid-20s, so 25-ish, so probably near his early 20s, so 21, 22, during that shipwreck. But he probably was a semi-established pirate, and just general seafarer before that point, which kind of added into his swashbuckler rogue style. But in terms of actually becoming his level 1 self, probably took him until about 21, 22 or so.
Fair enough. And Marina Oceanstar, same question.
Marina?
Yeah, hold on. So Marina Oceanstar is a Circle the Shepherd druid and a bard of lore. For her, she was kind of born with the abilities, but she became a bard of lore as she grew up, reading about different adventurers through her time and recent events that have happened. It's the reason why she kept pushing for years for her parents to let her go on a mission or an adventure of sorts. It is why she ended up with this team in the first place and trying to escort the lovely princess. So,
Fair enough. All right, Luck, same question.
Locke is a goblin, artificer, artillerist, mad bomber, alchemist, and getting to the whole like level 1 state of himself, it was really just sort of out of necessity. Started like needing to be able to do certain things and sort of like jerry rigging things together and learning how to mix learning what happens when you mix certain random substances that you find on the street.
All right. So so it happened over time, and there's some element of Breaking Bad fantasy edition here, it sounds like.
You know, it's one of those things where like as part of like as part of being where he was and making a living the way he was making a living, it sort of necessitated doing that sort of thing. Yeah.
Fair enough. And finally, Signa.
So, Signa is a rogue fighter and an elf, or, well, was an elf, is now a Dampier. And I'd say that while she was a capable sailor for quite some time and might even have dabbled in the occult before having found her deities, realistically, she wasn't truly what one would consider above a peasant until the very moment she made an agreement with her deities originally, as that both sort of gave her the power of her patron and originally unlocked her abilities as a sorcerer before she lost those.
Okay. So it sounds like Signa and Marina both sort of came to their powers relatively quickly, although perhaps at different times in life, whereas for both Locke and Ace, there was a little bit of more of an investment of time in terms of becoming what they are. Fair enough. So we're now in the situation where, as is often the case where this party is, a significant portion of what's around you is on fire, and there's a great deal of panic happening in the street around you. Now, and most of you are making your way, or were making your way to the ship. Ace, you had specified at the end of last session that you decided to Misty Step after the Princess Liliana, who you were here to rescue.
Yep.
What's your next action at this point? What are you doing after you go after her?
So my assumption was that she had misty stepped away from us, generally to a place like kind of in between a lot of people, so she wasn't directly next to anyone. Is that correct, or did she like pop up next to one of the guards or the people that came to find her, of the captain, or our former captain, I should say?
Your initial assumption was correct. She didn't misty step close to any group of people. She misty stepped onto a pier that's a little bit trying to figure out how I want to word this exactly. Kind of a raised platform above everybody else that would be good for shouting things like "get them" from.
Okay.
So she was there for the acoustics and leverage, not for proximity to anyone else.
Okie dokie. And from my current position, I don't remember if Locke threw down a smoke bomb. Is that what he did last episode, or?
Go ahead.
I had used a flashbang to sort of like stun anybody that was nearby and prevent them from using any reactions while we ran to the ship.
Cool. So I assume that I would teleport, look back, everyone would be kind of stunned as you guys were running. Cool. So I essentially would have Misty stepped right next to her. I assume surprising her, because I don't think I've done that around her, if I remember correctly. Oh no, I did at one point. When I was inside the castle, I Misty stepped with her to one
In
of the
any
hallways.
case, you're physically bigger and stronger than she is, so it would be a jarring experience for you to appear next to her. So we'll go with her being startled by the experience.
Okay, so he would probably spawn his sword, the Hexblade one, into his hand and pretty much put against her neck, as he moves, like pretty much right next to her, and kind of just say softly to her, "It's a real awful idea to try to escape people who are very good at capturing folks." And he's just gonna kind of look at his captain who had popped up and just go, "I would deeply suggest that you let my companions go without chasing them, if possible. I don't have any intention of killing her, but if my companions die, that will very quickly change."
So Gorm is going to stare at you for a moment, and so I guess the question here is, if it came to it, would Ace as a character, and only you know your character, I'm just going to completely take your word, would Ace the character starch the princess if he felt like this really didn't go his way?
Him as a character, he would not actually kill her, but he would absolutely knock her out just immediately and then take her with. Primarily because her being alive is more useful to him than her being dead because of his patron. So he'd be trying to keep her alive at all costs, aside from him dying. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. So the reason why I ask is because Gorm, you all having served together, he knows you. He doesn't necessarily, know your deepest, darkest secrets or anything like that, but he has a general sense of who you are as a person. So this is actually going to be a deception check. So go ahead and roll deception, please.
Okie dokie. That would be a 18.
18. All right. So Gorm is going to loudly shout. And matter of fact, he shouts so loudly that you suspect that there's probably some sort of magical enhancement to his voice. Prestidigitation, not prestidigitation, whatever that spell is. Thaumaturgy, yes, that one. Type effect where he's magically enhancing his voice, where he just shouts to everyone to stand down. And so a lot of the mercenaries and so forth who had been drawing weapons and moving your way are now backing off. And there's just a tremendous amount of confusion around you as all of this is happening. Because in addition to there being this sudden commotion, you also do have the situation of some ships being on fire. So there's a lot of people are ignoring you and dealing with that. So Gorm is going to slowly and deliberately unbuckle his sword belt, and he's going to take a few steps toward you, tentatively, and say, "Might I have a word, Captain?"
Considering I know that she's able to teleport, my sword's not moving, because when she does teleport, I'm teleporting into her, just so you're aware, Princess. But you are welcome to talk to me if you wish to. I would rather her not escape. You know how it is. You've done this before.
All right. So Gorm is going to relax a little bit. He's still got his hands up, and he's going to step up closer to you, And in a tone that you're pretty sure only you're hearing, he's going to calmly and very earnestly say, okay, look, Ace, I understand you want to get out of here. I would too, and I'm not begrudging you that, and I'm sure you were well compensated to try to take the princess. That's not going to happen. I can't let you go with her. However, on my word, your companions, who, keep in mind, these were my crew, you and your companions may leave. And that doesn't have to be the end of this conversation. There is an island, and he's going to specify a place called Smuggler's Rest, which you know very well as a place of, well, it is what it sounds like, but it's also a common place for people who are on the outs with the law to rendezvous. And he's going to request a future meeting with you and the crew there.
Ace will kind of nod, and he'll actually move his sword away from her, assuming that she knows that he can and will hunt her down if she teleports away, as he just displayed it. But he's going to move his sword away and just kind of make it vanish, and he's going to look at Grom and go, I would indeed quite like to see you again, Captain. But the only unfortunate part is that I kind of have a bargain to deal with her. Not one that is a material sense, but one that actually offers my soul. Specifically, to stop a war. I assume you know the war that has been rising as of late, that she is the #1 pawn in.
I do, in fact, know the one you're talking about, and this is really not the time or the place to get into a detailed conversation about it. But believe it or not, I, the new king of this city, with my new queen here, it's not particularly advantageous to me to take control of a city and then immediately have that city go to war. As a matter of fact, it's very much not in my interest to get into a bloody and protracted conflict when I'm establishing my reign. So this is a situation where, perhaps not in the way you intended, perhaps not in the way I intended, we can help each other. But that does mean you have to leave without her, because if I can't protect my queen, I'm going to lose all credibility. And more to the point, there's a good chance that he's going to gesture to the assembled mercenaries and others who are watching from a respectable distance and like clearly straining to hear what you guys are talking about. I'm going to say, and there's a good chance that if you try to leave with her, they're going to tear you apart regardless of what I say or do.
That's fair. The only reason that we want her is to actually stop this entire war, because if this war happens, well, let's just say that it will not end well for me, my crew, or the majority of the people involved in it, from both a perspective of the mortal existence and also possibly actual gods punching the entire place. As you can imagine, that's not something I particularly want to deal with at the moment. So if you can guarantee that at least the war won't start until our next meeting, then I'll be happy to leave.
In a much louder voice, he's going to announce, and you're absolutely sure that a lot of the majority of people near the shore are hearing this. He's going to announce, so it is settled. You will leave in peace, the princess will stay, and there will be no conflict started by me for at least 1 month.
That'll work for me. And fair warning, Captain, and you know as well as I do that I always keep my word, for I only say it when need. If things go awry, and if things happen to make it so that my patron gets angry at me, I will hunt you down to kill you. Because unfortunately, that will mean that I will be on death's door, and I don't like being on death's door.
There's no need for any more threats or theatrics, Ace. I wouldn't have made you my first mate if I didn't think you were a man of your word. and I'm well aware of the significance of offending your patron. I have no desire to run afoul of Master Jones either.
Good. We're on the same boat then. All right. Well, Princess, it was honestly probably not the best interaction between us, and honestly, I really hope we don't have to have many more interactions. No offense entirely meant to you. Just mostly. All right. Well, I will see you, Captain.
She's going to say, no offense taken, and then she's going to knee you very painfully.
He's just gonna kind of shrug and look at the Captain. I will see you, what day?
As soon as you can get there.
Will do. We'll see you then. And he's gonna kind of walk a little bit away from the two of them, and then just kind of as a, about probably 15 feet away from them, he's going to use Thunder Step to move 90 feet directly to, I believe it's 90, is it 90?
We'll say it's 90, it's fine.
Yeah, pretty much just land right next to, it can be right next to the party. And the thunder can be heard from up to 300 feet away.
So, for all of the party, you didn't hear most of that conversation. What you got was Gorm was calling everybody off, and Gorm then allowed them to go. That's about as much as you would have heard of that. So what's everybody doing at this point?
So the second he appears, Signa is going to proceed to slap him.
I wanted to slap him.
Just slap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in
Okay.
between Ace and the girls, and I'm gonna push them off. The entire time these interactions have been happening, I haven't stopped the bird from setting fire to anything. It's just been happening.
What's the bird's AC?
18. 18.
Yeah, so basically the bird is a couple of people have noticed it. They're like throwing things and shooting bows, and a couple of casters are throwing fire bolts and things like that. But so far the bird is doing a pretty good job of an impressive weaving around all of the attacks. It is stopping it from doing much more damage than it already has, although it's already done a fair amount. It's set a couple of wooden ships on fire, and that is
Ace is gonna rub his cheek a little bit, and before putting his hand on Locke's head and be like, "Call off the bird. No need for it right now."
First of all, we're gonna have a big fucking talk on the ship. Second of all, no. We're gonna get back to the ship. We're gonna have a talk about thinking with our brains instead of our fucking balls.
Oh,
Okay.
trust me, I thought with my brains a lot more than anything else. And trust me, if you don't stop that bird, there is going to be very little that can be done to stop this entire mercenary army from running us down and impaling all of us. And frankly, I would prefer if we don't die. I'll explain the conversation.
Then we get to the fucking ship right now, because I don't trust any of them, and I especially don't trust Captain Gorm.
Oh, I have absolutely no faith in any of them from actually stopping moving, which is why we probably only have a few minutes. Let's go. You can hate me as much as you want, don't change the reality. And he's just gonna start walking.
I'm gonna follow him back to the ship. And when I get roughly 100 feet away from where the bird is, I'm gonna call it back over to me, because there's only a limited range that it can go away from me, anyways.
okay.
Cool.
All right. So, as is your way, you leave this the scene of mayhem behind you, and your ship being a smaller one, it doesn't take you but a few minutes to get it underway. And yeah, so you guys managed to get yourselves out onto the water and are putting distance between yourself and a surprised, confused, and very angry, well, pretty much the entire city at this point. What's everybody doing next?
Ace don't look at the group. So you gonna try killing me, or are we gonna talk about it first?
Not
Debatable.
kill you.
How close is Ace to the side of the ship?
Go ahead. I know what you have in mind. Just go ahead and get with both of you. Make a strength check.
Alright. That's gonna really suck for Ace. That's a 4. Physically capable of losing that?
That's going to be a 17 plus 4, so that's going to be a
Jesus.
21.
One time you roll well,
That was
and
a
the campaign replayed. All right. So
Good
while
God.
Ace is in the drink and trying to climb back onto the ship, what's the rest of the party doing?
I'm throwing him a rope.
Okay.
Raina's gonna push him off again.
Thankfully, I have a rope now.
All right. Now, he's sufficiently bathed, I think.
Oh, I smell like the
No,
sea.
he still smells like a bastard.
I have some questions I'd like to ask of our fearless leader over here.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know where your head was at when you couldn't wrap your brain around someone that we've been with going on I think over a month now, saying that she didn't believe someone who has, let's face it, no reason to be honest with her.
Simple.
I
Didn't
don't
pertain
know
to
what the heck.
the situation. Whether or not I believed her or didn't change anything.
I literally told you myself that she was lying, that something was off and she was clearly planning something.
I seem to
Yes.
recall backing you up as well. Like it was basically unanimous from us that
Yes.
we all
And
saw this coming.
believing her or not didn't change anything. She teleported, I teleported, and I could have stabbed her if I needed to.
I understand that. I really do. But I want to know if we're going to have more of these problems where you just do what you think is best and to hell with the rest of us. Cuz that's not a fucking leader.
I did that so you guys would live. You guys were, I believe, fighting an entire city trying to escape.
Not what I'm talking about. And the fact that you can't figure out what I'm talking about is a problem. Do you want to know what I saw down there? Do you
Kinda-
really want to know?
Kind
I'll
of
tell you.
crosses his arms and raises an eyebrow at you.
Down there in the fucking hole when they decided when Cigna's wild ass fucking gods decided they were going to enter our brains, which, by the way, they're on my fucking list now. You know what I got to see? I got to see the last time I saw my old crew. I got to see them at the very end. You know, at the end of a botched job that I led. I got to watch them die. You know what I never did the entire time
What's
that I
that?
was with them? I never
What's that?
just went and did whatever the fuck I wanted. I believed them. If they said somebody was lying, I leaned in a little harder to try and figure out what they meant. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm extremely mad.
Mm.
And the only reason I'm not yelling right now is because I have a great deal of other things on my mind. I have an entire inventory to resupply on. I have a lot of actual work to do. I'll be down in the hole. And unless I call one of you, just leave me the fuck alone. And I just stomp off down into the hold. I stomp off down into the hold. I crack open the portable lab, slam the door behind me.
So I just want to elaborate a little bit on what you all are witnessing as that order of events happens, because I don't think the crew knows about the portable lab. So you see this angry goblin stomping away from you. Keep in mind he's at least a foot shorter than any of you. And he opens the door. There's a brief flash and something that you don't quite get a glimpse of coming into existence. And then the door slams before you can focus on it. And the rest of you are left standing on deck after it, after his expression and departure. Do Marina or Signa have anything to say at this point?
Nope.
Signa is just going to add, I spent years working with unknowable intelligences who are aware of secrets that could melt mortal minds. And when I told you that someone was lying, I, the person who is, again, the expert of knowing secrets, you didn't believe me. That was not the most intelligent move, and makes me question if you are fit to be captain.
He kind of just shrugs at that, and he's like, honestly, believing you or not believing you didn't really matter to me at the time, nor did believing her. I didn't actually believe her, to some degree. She seemed like she was being honest, so I took her at face value. You guys didn't think she was being honest, so you guys didn't. I had no reason to really push her, as trying to figure out what her plan was didn't really matter.
Just be careful, Captain, because in your desire to not push her, going to need to be very careful that I not push you in the middle of the night, off the side of the deck. And
I'll
with that,
keep that in
Signa is going
mind.
to stop.
All right. So does the crew start making their way toward? So first off, Ace,
Mhm.
how much of your conversation with Gorm are you sharing with the rest of your crewmates at this point?
For those that were there, which I assume is still Signa and Marina, he would just be effectively relaying the entire conversation, however much they wish to hear. He has no interest in hiding anything about it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Marina, what's your reaction to this information?
Honestly, not surprised in the slightest. If honestly, I should have just not gone with the princess, considering this whole thing was just a ruse of their whole plan of being together. But if that's what it takes for them to cooperate and to avoid a war, then so be it. However, rest assured, it will be more than just a slap to your face if something goes south again. I
If
get this
something
may be a
goes
tiring.
south, my patron will steal my soul. So I don't think you want it to go south.
Well, we'll see. I mean, certainly this is a pirate's life. Anything could happen. I'm not too experienced in it. I've already seen what I've needed to see, more than what the books foretold. But
Yeah,
that's good
tends to be
information to
a
keep in mind.
tends to be a difficult life. But no, we're gonna go over to that island, have a meeting with Grom. Things go truly south, I will have his head on a pike. But I doubt it will happen.
Signa, are you generally okay with the way this conversation's going and its outcome?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, the consensus generally seems to be that if there's another fuck up, we're going to kill him. So, yeah.
So what?
Okay.
Peace, love, and happiness. Let's go.
Never seen a character lose the party's trust so thoroughly so quickly before. It's kind of interesting to watch, honestly. All right, so you know that it's going to take you a couple of days to get to Smuggler's Rest. It's not too far out of the way, which is part of what makes it beneficial for its purpose. It is an area that's difficult sailing, a lot of reefs and sort of perils for a sailor, which makes it ideal for the purpose because, well, people don't go there unless they're doing some kind of clandestine business. Now the question is, are you going there directly, or is there anything else you're wanting to do before you go there?
Ace would want to go there directly. Not sure about Locke, though.
Well, Locke's in the cabin, and your goblin friend, who's exceptionally proficient with explosives, has made his desire to not be disturbed well known. So,
That's
if you want to test that,
so Ace would be voting for going there directly.
Okay. All right. So since no one else is speaking up, we're going to assume that that's what's happening. And
yeah, if word makes it down to me, but down in the hold and something, and the questions asked, probably just gonna agree with it anyways.
Yeah, Merton at one point would go down to where Locke went and occasionally like check on him and let him and keep him updated with stuff.
Okay. So, Locke, are you strictly keeping your own company during your time at this project, or are you calling on your friend who's somewhat attached to the toolkit?
Yeah, I'm definitely. The first thing I do is, after slamming the door and getting in there, is lose my fucking shit for a few minutes. Just throwing things around.
Okay.
And then after I'm done having my tantrum, I start calling out for Orleana because I just need somebody to fucking talk to.
All right. So she does appear, and she's not exactly a people person, so it takes her a minute to register that you're not just looking to make shit. What is it? What do you tell her exactly?
I need to find a lot of information about some things.
Great.
I have two things I need to do. You ever heard of like, I think, Goblin Fire?
I have. I'm familiar with the composition, and it's dangerous but not terribly difficult to make.
I want to do that. And then I point to her prosthetic arm. I need an extra hand around here. And I think you might be the best person to talk to about attaching one just underneath my right arm.
Okay. Now, in the time you have before you reach Smuggler's Rest, you're going to have time to do one or the other of those things. So, which one's going to be your priority?
The more immediate one is definitely going to be the attaching the prosthetic under my right arm. I've basically lost both of my infusions right now. So I'm just making new.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting over now. And yeah. And any spare time I have in between doing that, I'm mixing a new batch of explosives in whatever like sort of flasks that I have that are not shaped like an apple, but shaped more like a missile round,
Okay.
so that I can load them into the arm and actually use the arm as a launcher.
Okay. All right. So you have time to recover all of your infusions. The arm launcher will have a couple of properties of its own. It's going to count as a masterwork weapon, which means that any attack made with it, ranged or otherwise, is going to get +1 to attack and damage and be magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance, even though it's not strictly speaking magical. So the ability would work even within something like an anti-magic field.
Nice.
It will effectively grant you extra attack, but only with it. So if you're wielding weapons other than it, what I'm about to say won't apply. But with it, you can launch your bombs with it, and will have roughly the range of a heavy crossbow. And if you are out of bombs or just don't want to use one in that moment, it will essentially function as a +1 heavy crossbow. In addition, if you find yourself in close quarters, it will function as a +1 rapier. So it has the finesse quality, meaning you can use strength if you want, but you don't have to. And finally, any crafting checks you do while equipped with this thing will be done with advantage. And anything like a crafting check, but essentially where you're making or manipulating things.
Okay. I'm just writing all this down.
And it's the kind of thing where, that was a lot of narration or just, going on about the properties of what the two of you are making. Basically, what it amounts to is you all spend about 2 days with designing what amounts to a vest with a lot of metal framework in it to support this third arm. And part of the reason why you're able to make this thing as well as you're able to make it, it isn't just Oliara's expertise. It's also the fact that you can put the thing on and she can work on it while it's on you and have that kind of perspective on something which would be very hard to do as a solo project.
All right.
Now, is there anything that Signa or actually anything the other three in general would be preparing, working on, or trying to do during the couple of days of this voyage?
Signa is actually going to start praying to her gods again, more specifically trying to sort of ask for some amount of guidance in a general sense and a much more religious sense than she's really gone to her gods to before, on if they are on the right path to actually achieve their goals of peace.
Go ahead.
You cut out.
Make this check with advantage since you have some time to do it, and also since you've actually met your gods in person. Go ahead and make a religion check with advantage.
Okay. So that's going to be a natural 20.
Okay. So yeah, you do manage to make contact with what you believe to be your at least one of your deities, and it's a much gentler kind of feeling than it was before. And what they tell you is that your path will either, the path you're on will either make things much better or much worse. But to deviate from it will be a disaster.
Great. Great.
Do you have any? You can ask one follow-up question for clarification or direction or whatever you want.
I'm going to ask what the. How do I put this? I am going to ask in the broadest possible sense what the former captain, whose name I'm forgetting,
Or
seeks to accomplish at this meeting. Like what is he after, actually? Because I don't trust him.
the voice is much softer and more melodic than it has been before, and the voice is going to say, "Your captain is who he always was. He seeks power and glory and wealth, and now he has it. Whether his hunger will be sated and whether you can help sate it is something that, and there'll be a pause. His hunger is not infinite, but it is great." And that's essentially the end of your audience with your gods.
Okay.
Marina, are you doing anything in particular other than not talking to Ace?
She would just be keeping watch, doing her ship duties. So, no, not really.
Okay. And finally, Ace, anything in particular you might be doing?
He's mostly just going to be watching the water, making sure they're on the right path, trying to find, to see whether or not the boat got damaged in any way, shape, or form, or any injuries or anything of that sort to it.
Okay. The boat itself is fine. There's no damage to it. There was no attack on it during the chaotic events in the harbor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you know you're coming up on Smuggler's Rest, not so much at spotting land, but at spotting ships that have run aground. And as mentioned, there are reefs and things close to this place.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can see, all of you can see this, including Locke, if you decide to make your way up from below. But what you see is there are some larger ships that ran aground, some of them a long time ago, at least one more recently. And you can see smaller boats around it effectively picking it clean. And at your approach, the crew of the smaller ships stop what they're doing to stare at you. There's no greeting in the way that they're looking at you. They're staring at you. Some of them actually draw their weapons as you go by. And the expression is universally, if you know what's good for you, keep going. Nothing happening here concerns you. Do you all react to this in any way, or do you just keep moving?
Ace would just keep moving.
Okay.
So this is Smuggler's Rest.
As uncomfortable as I imagined it would be.
At least it's not another old god temple.
That's true.
All right. As you make your way to the bay that essentially serves as a dock in this place, or that serves as a landing point for ships, it's definitely not ideal, but it's functional. You were greeted by the sight of another old god temple. No, I'm kidding.
Yay!
They're everywhere.
How many old gods are in this one? Anyway, all right, back to it. No, there's really not much here. It's pretty barren. There is a very roughly made building that has the look of a poor quality tavern. But what you do see is a pavilion set up a little ways inland. The island itself is, I wouldn't quite call it a desert island, but it's pretty sparse. And what you do see is a pavilion with some guards and things who are wearing the colors of the city of Spathen, which is where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
And you're about as sure as you can be that that is where your former Captain Gorm is.
He got here fast. Shall we go meet him? He's kind of asking the group.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, thanks to you, we don't have an option.
And that's why we're here, is to go meet him.
That's true. All right. Ace, don't start making his way towards the guards.
Wait.
What's up?
I don't want to be ambushed. Marina, can you turn into something small that's really hard to see?
Possibly? Hold on.
You should be able to turn to a cat.
Oh, I thought he said tall. And it's like, I don't know about tall. But yeah, I can turn into a cat.
No, something small, really hard to see.
Oh, I can turn into a mouse.
Something that flies.
Bird.
Like maybe yeah, you know what? That would be a good idea.
There we go. I mean, maybe, I don't know if I can turn into a bug, actually. Hold on. Just turn into a casual bug. Actually, I'd probably risk being eaten. I'll just be a bird. A little, like, swallow.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Anybody else have any way to, like, recon?
I do not. But, well, actually, I could climb up somewhere and watch, but me disappearing might be suspicious to Gorm. But I do have some words of insight, though. I have communed with my gods, and they say that this is either the path of peace or the path of catastrophe, and that if we deviate from it now, things are going to get a lot worse. So, words of encouragement? Yes, I'm good at this.
I could take that as encouragement.
I mean,
Yeah, really.
words of encouragement. Let's make it through this and be sure we communicate together. And Lyra does Bardic Inspiration.
Woo!
I mean, wow. Marina does Bardic Inspiration to Locke.
All right, and that's a D6.
For the sake of brevity, we'll go with D6.
Okay.
Also, just to be aware, when I say this is sparse, I mean there's the occasional tree on this island, but you can pretty much see the opposite shore of the island from where you are, and there's definitely nothing like a forest or anything like that. So it's a relatively small space, and I mean, it's certainly conceivable that somebody could have buried themselves in the sand or turned invisible or something, but it's not a great place to set up an ambush, which is one of the things that makes it a good place for the purpose.
Mm.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think it should be fine if we just go in. Considering how small the island is, if they do have a bunch of people to fight, I'm sure we could take them.
You're the captain.
Yep.
He'll nod and he'll
Alright.
start walking.
And wait, is Marina need to turn into a bird now or not quite?
Well, I guess now that we have a better idea of what the space looks like, I guess
Okay.
a little bit up to you.
I'll wait till we get to a spot that seems unsure, and then I'll take to the sky.
Yeah, I've kept the extra arm under my coat.
Okay.
and, like nobody's seen it at this point.
Right. Okay.
So we're gonna walk
So
in.
sorry, go ahead, Ace.
I said, so we're gonna walk in. Mhm.
Well, yeah.
All right. And he'll start walking.
So as you all approach it's not a whole lot of guards, maybe a dozen or so, who are just kind of hanging out around this pavilion. Gorm is sitting under the pavilion in a rather comfortable looking chair with a couple of other rather comfortable looking chairs around, with a table in the middle and several cups laid out. And he's going to say, "Friends, glad you could make it. Please have a seat."
It's good to see you, Captain.
And you. That was a rough scrape we were in the last time we were all together. I'm glad everybody made it out. And he's going to focus on Signa. I'm glad everybody made it out. Would you all care for a drink?
Ace will nod. Sure. And he'll go and
No,
sit down
I'm
in one of
good.
the chairs.
I can't really drink anymore, so I think I'm good.
No offense, Captain, but no.
And Marina is not going to sit down.
Okay. So
I think if I sit down, I won't be able to see. If there's a table and I sit down, I don't think I'll be able to see over the top of it. So
fair enough. All right. So Gorm is going to smile at Locke and say, "Of all the ways I've killed people, poison has never been a favorite." And he's going to pour one for himself and pour one for Ace. He's pouring out of a decanter with like a gold leaf mold around it. And he's pouring into not exactly ostentatious, but very nicely made goblets. And he'll pass you one. Do you take a drink of what's offered to you?
Ace would smell it, but then drink it.
So what you discover is that out of this very fine decanter with these very fine goblets, he's still drinking the same shit he drank back when you were pirates and would occasionally drink together. So once again, I need to ask, this is something only you would know about your character. What's your character's reaction to that?
He would probably chuckle, and Ace himself would probably be thinking, same old shit for the same old man. At least he hasn't changed that much.
Gorm is going to pick up on the reaction, and he's going to say it's important to remember where we came from and not to get too pretentious. Also, fine wine just tastes like bad grapes to me.
Hey, if you drink this shit for long enough, anything tastes like heaven.
Anyway, so I'm sure you're all wondering why I wanted to meet with you all here. I understand that things haven't gone optimally between us. We found ourselves on opposite sides of an awkward situation. But I'm sure you all understand that in this crazy life we lead, sometimes you wind up on the opposite crew of someone else. It's not always personal, or at least it shouldn't have to be. And he's going to turn his attention to Marina, and he's going to say, and I'm sure you, new to this pirate's life that you are, still are familiar enough with your own great game of diplomacy to know that just because two people wind up on opposite sides of something doesn't mean that one of them is a bad person or that they have to have any personal conflict. And after he says that, he's going to wait for any kind of acknowledgement or reply.
This is certainly true. Not everything has to be a bicker or a fight. And certainly there is some ups and downs to diplomacy and disagreements and how things are ran. However, I'm not usually in that sort of area myself, but I do understand. In my opinion, everyone is wrong in their sort of way until they're proven right.
You know, it's fascinating, Princess. Both the life of a street thug and the life of royalty, now that I have experienced one and I'm starting to experience the other, both are a sort of game of guile and wits and strength. Both are a game where you're always looking for the next blade in the dark. And if you spend too much time looking for the blade at your back, you fall to the one at your front. Well, anyway, I've bandied words enough. I'll just tell you why I brought you here. As I told Ace, I don't want to start a cataclysmic war. However, the illustrious city of Trinoa isn't going to accept my queen having married an orc and taken up residence as the queen of Spaden, sadly. Now, the simple solution to this is that she takes her place as the queen of Trinoa as well, and I her king. And at that point, we have one united kingdom, the strongest that's been seen since the collapse, capable of establishing trade routes, establishing order, mediating disputes between the smaller kingdoms, making trade and travel safe again as they haven't been in centuries. We can build a much better world.
Well, that does sound nice. There, I assume, would be many that would be against you, which could start a civil war within the town itself, which could become even worse.
Absolutely, but the thing you have to keep in mind is we find ourselves in a very fortunate position. Liliana has a rightful claim to the throne of Trinoa, so it would be very difficult for anyone to challenge her on any kind of legal grounds. And I don't know that the peasants necessarily would care. They might even relate to the princess who married an orc pirate. I can bring support from some of the tribes further, the orc tribes and others further inland. So it wouldn't really make sense for anybody to challenge us if we can get established.
How do you plan on getting established?
He claps his hands together.
All this happens without a fight.
He claps his hands together, looks at Ace, smiles in a way that is both a broad, toothy grin, but also vaguely reminds you of a cat. And he says, "So glad you ask." And to your point, Locke, a fight, yes, but not all fights are the same size. A fight could be two fleets meeting on the open waters and doing untold destruction, or a fight could be one small ship, a ship that was seen escaping from the docks at Spaden, putting in at Troy Noah, and probably being welcomed for having tried to return their princess to them. And he snaps his fingers, and one of his guards brings him a device which, Locke, you probably recognize as some sort of portal device. And it's the kind of thing where it's not recognizable as what it is instantly, but he unfolds it on the table, and after he's done, he hits a button on it, and a portal appears on the table. While he's doing that, guards are setting up another one, and he's going to pick up a rock he'll get up, pick up a rock from the ground, and toss it through one portal, and it goes out the other. They're going to say, you see, if you put into their port with one of these portals on your boat, we could have a way in for a small portion of my forces to quietly move into the city and take control without the need for a large-scale conflict.
And what would this result for the Oceanic folk, my family? Because I was assigned to escort the princess. However, that didn't turn about correctly.
Well, the princess would be able to return home at will. She would need to go to Trinoa in order to establish her hegemony there. And you would have succeeded in your mission. Additionally, you would have avoided a large-scale war that your people would have either been drawn into or had to retreat back under the waves to avoid.
So if I'm understanding your plan correctly, you're saying that we take your portal onto our ship, cruise on over there, park our ship, and then the curtain of the night, your crew starts coming out and secretly and silently take over the area?
Pretty much, and you have to keep in mind that you'll likely be welcomed and perhaps have access to places that most don't, so it should be a particularly smooth operation.
Is it possible the idea that we could take the princess with us, and then, being welcomed and assuming that we had recovered the princess, we could even possibly get into her castle itself, and then your army comes out in the castle, and you effectively have the cleanest coup, I suppose, that you can provide?
He's making a lot of sense.
There's a reason I always liked you, Ace. And Locke, I think you might be the best person in all of the kingdoms, in all of Medalia, to operate this portal and make sure that this goes smoothly.
I appreciate your confidence.
Do keep in mind, though, that if you try to do anything too clever, like turn the princess back over to them, I will arrange with Davy Jones for him to delay taking your soul just long enough for me to flay you alive.
I knew there was a reason I liked you, Captain.
Yeah, I don't know about that happening, so don't get your hopes up. We'll go about this plan accordingly, with everyone staying alive, in a sense.
We could potentially make it so there's absolutely no casualties in this entire war of sorts. Make it so that Liliana is placed onto the throne, establish trade routes between the two areas, potentially make it so no one fights in any way, shape, or form, which causes the entire war that we are attempting to stop stopped, and make it so that we don't have to worry about excess bloodshed, which is the exact thing that David Jones himself does not want to deal with. Also make it so that your order, I suppose, Marina, the ocean folk, won't have to deal with any unnecessary wars. They'll be able to establish a singular trade route, as they won't have to deal with two opposing armies, and you don't have to worry about your choosing which side to fight on, as they'll be on the same side.
Okay. Sounds
I
fair
just
enough.
What was that, Locke?
I'm confused about one thing. What are they gonna say when we show up with her? And we say sorry, we can't turn her over to you? We can't give her back, even though that was the reason we did this?
You'll have to move quickly. You'll have to make everything happen before they have a chance to spirit her away into some gilded cage, as princesses are often kept in, especially those who have a history of escaping from their families. So it won't be a long meeting with the Trinoan court.
I assume that they would be assuming that we, we got her and welcoming us, and I assume that also means they'd be bringing us into their castle itself.
I can't promise you exactly what they're going to do, but they're, for example, less likely to start searching your boat for things like portals if you show up with their princess.
That's true.
And I'm sure their spies have reported an attempt at bringing her back already. So, should you succeed in bringing her back, then they would be all the more impressed, I imagine, because you will have exceeded what they heard of your heroic efforts to be. You won't just be people who tried to be friends. You'll be people who the rumors were not true, that you actually did manage to rescue their princess. Quite an achievement.
Indeed. Think this
I'm
could
gonna
work
start
in all our
inspecting the
favors.
little portal device.
You're inspecting the portal device, you said?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how big is this thing that he just handed us?
It folds up into something roughly the size of a short sword, but it's a lot heavier because it's not quite at the level of sophistication of your toolkit, where it's magical in the way that it unfolds into something bigger. But there's a lot of components and a lot of machinery and metal at work in this, in addition to magical components.
You know, with the way this looks,
Mm-hmm.
we disguise it as a we disguise it as a short sword, and we have you carry it, Ace,
I
or
could
have
do that.
Signa carry it. Actually,
Signa,
so
what
that you
weapons
don't
do you
have to
normally
give, so that
use?
you don't have to actually give up a weapon. If we have Signa carry it, then they'll have disarmed us, and they'll have disarmed exactly what brings in Gorm, what brings Gorm and his goons in.
That could be quite a useful tactic. What weapons do you normally use, Signa? I know you have your dagger.
I usually use a rapier. That's what I have right now.
Okay. Now, folks don't typically know that my longsword is not a physical item typically. So, but they do. I believe they would know that I use two swords. So having that one on my person would be probably a good plan. Keep that image up further, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, that way we don't have that way just in case. I mean, the deeper into the castle this thing gets, the easier everything's going to be.
Indeed. If it's on my person, we can go quite far, and I can always say that I don't travel very far without my items.
What's the signal? The portal opening?
I'll look at Grom. Do you have a preference?
We'll have to work out the time ahead of time. We can send the princess with some sending stones to communicate and make things happen. Just keep in mind that pretty much once you enter the palace, things are going to happen very quickly, and they can't be undone. So there's no time. There'll be no time for hesitation. There'll be no time for cold feet. You will have to take action swiftly.
That's what we tend to do best.
But upon success, Marina, you will have the option of either staying on as an ambassador and perhaps traveling the realms, as I know you wanted to see more of the surface, or returning home a diplomatic hero. Locke, you will have at your disposal all of the laboratory and knowledge of alchemy that you could ever want. Ace, I was thinking, my new kingdom will need to be rid of the villainous types who prey upon shipping, and I can think of no one better than you to lead that effort. And Signa, from what I understand, your gods have entered a new phase in their existence, largely thanks to your efforts. And I would like to establish and maintain a positive relationship with them. So perhaps some sort of clerical role for you, or not. Any of you will be free to do as you please, but there will be something in it for everyone.
Sounds like a good offer.
You hear that, Ace? We get to be the good guys.
Huh.
That'll be new.
Quite surprising, especially for Ace.
Ace? Oh, please. Ace could have been the good guy at any point in time.
Well, we're going to try to get through this without a single drop of blood, so we'll see how far we get.
I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. Expect somebody to show up with a bucket of red paint.
This will be definitely an interesting story to read if they ever choose to write it down in history.
Gorm is going to look at Marina and he's going to say, I know this doesn't exactly follow the plot of one of your storybooks, but maybe you can let the bad guys win once in a while. We work pretty hard. We've earned it.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Gordon, you're not exactly the best at pep talks. In fact, you're almost as good at it as myself, which means that you probably shouldn't be trying to give them.
You guys have.
I always
guys have
hated you for
go.
observations like that are mean and unnecessary and correct. He's smiling as he's saying this to you. He's obviously saying it in a friendly way.
Her observations are right on the nose every time. What are you
All
gonna
right.
say?
Well, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the portal machine, and kind of without really like thinking about it, the third hand comes out and starts tracing over the top of it while I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. I'm gonna take this back onto the ship, and I'm gonna get started working on some kind of disguise for it.
You got a new toy.
That seems interesting.
Yeah, I needed an extra hand.
Huh.
Your jokes are
Really?
as impressive as ever.
Maybe you can be an old gnome. Name you Grampy.
No. I'm gonna be honest with you. Me and gnomes don't get along. It's almost worse than kids.
While you're
That's
talking,
fair, I guess.
What was that, Benny?
no, go ahead, please.
Oh, that's all.
Okay, that's all. While you all are talking, two things are going to happen. One of them is that one of the guards is going to change shape, and the guard essentially turns into Gorm, which is, this guard was a regular sized human, so it is quite a change in his appearance. And who you thought was Gorm is going to shrink in size to the Princess Liliana. And she's going to say, well, I guess we should be going then.
Neat trick.
Shoulda fucking knew it.
Of course he wasn't going to be sitting here across from us who would potentially be stabbing him and killing him.
I mean, I guess that would have protected him a little bit. But anyway.
Neat trick, though. All right.
So Gordon was going to just like walk up and clap you on the shoulder, and he's going to say, "Come on, what's a little bit of magical deception between old friends, Ace? Best of luck to you. We'll see you
Makes
on
me
the other
wish
side."
I did that.
And do take care of Liliana. I know you all probably see me as a horrible pirate criminal mastermind, but I really do care about her. Okay.
Don't worry. Our intention has never been to hurt her. If anything, hurting her would probably be the worst option that we could possibly have, so we'll keep her alive.
Didn't you have your sword pressed against her throat like 20 minutes ago?
Well, yeah, a threat is the easiest way to stop a conflict.
While that's going on, Gorm and Liliana are saying their goodbyes, and they do it a little bit of a distance from you, but you do get the impression that these are two people who genuinely care about each other and who share a genuine bond, regardless of how good or bad they are as people. And once again, you have Princess Liliana walking along with the group.
Welcome back to the party,
finishing
Princess.
As they're finishing up their little romantic moment, I'm gonna pipe up loud, definitely loud enough for them to hear. Gorm, you two, you're just so fucking cute. You know that.
God. Oh, Locke.
After you say that, Liliana's
I
going
was
to
gonna
walk
turn
up.
around and head right back to the ship.
So as you're doing that, the Liliana walks up next to you, and she's going to say, "So, Locke, that must have really stung your friend who you've been traveling with for years. Took my word over yours. Oh well." And she, having a longer stride than you, she just walks past.
Fucking
Can
ow.
I push her off the ship?
Contested strength check.
Cat fight, cat fight.
Give me a second. Hold on.
I got it. That will be... Oh god, Marina, why? So that's gonna be a 5 for Marina.
So
Can I
previously,
roll it myself? Because Ace has bad luck with rolls. I have my thing up now.
okay,
No.
roll it.
No. He has horrible rolls from transmissions.
Could I perform the help action for Marianne?
Double team.
All right, you guys are really gonna hate what I'm about to do, but in the midst of them doing this, can she? I need her to roll. I need her to roll a con save.
Oh.
DC 16.
Which her?
Liliana.
She succeeds.
Okay. Nothing
Beautiful.
happens then.
Okay.
All right, so you're rolling strength with advantage. Marina, what'd you roll?
It's loading up right now. Give me a second. At least it's trying. The baby decided to exit it.
Oh.
They do that.
Hmm. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. I'm very excited to see if she gets a 1.
That would be a fucking 16, you twit.
So basically, you matched. So basically, what Locke and Ace are now looking at is this 2-on-1 brawl with Signa and Marina trying to shove Liliana, with Liliana surprisingly holding her own.
A lot stronger than I thought she'd be.
Signa just sighs eventually and goes, not worth it, and then just continues heading to the ship.
Marina's going to. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see what it does. It only does swallow water. Darn. I was gonna splash her with water, but fine, whatever. I guess.
That's all right. I was trying to cast Vortex Warp on her and drop her in the water.
Ace just slowly walking up on board, like looks at them for a second, then just shrugs and goes, "If you throw over the ocean into the ocean, you're grabbing her." And just walks past.
I mean, I don't have to grab her. Something else can. And Marina will smile at her and then walk away.
I don't think they took that comment very well.
Well, I'm glad we all got that out of our systems. And she's just straightening her clothes and essentially making herself at home on the ship.
Well, I guess welcome to the crew.
So at this point, Signa's going to move over to Locke, and this is going to be a bit awkward because she has to lean down quite a ways. But she's going to whisper in his ear, like, you know how you accidentally, quote unquote, hit me with those bombs? Like, it wouldn't be the end of the world if something similar were to happen to her during the second palace coup of the last few days.
I mean, it's a possibility. Although, we'll have to see what happens. I don't fully trust the two of them yet.
I think that note of possibility is a really good place for us to leave the session for tonight.
Fair. All right, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, feel free to hit that follow button. If you guys want to see the rest of our episodes, we go live with Oceans Ablaze every Wednesday at about 5 p.m. You guys can also check out other series, including Jump Chain, which goes live almost every Monday at 7 p.m., and our last episode of Shifting Fates before we do a hiatus, which will be in 2 days at 7 p.m. PST. If you guys want to see our previous episodes as well, or the previous series that we did, feel free to go check out Vods of Valhalla on YouTube. Tables of Taurus on YouTube, or any of our other gameplay videos like Baldur's Gate, which we're doing on Vods of Valhalla. And yeah, we'll see all of you fine folks for the next episode, which will be Rogues playing Bioshock 2, I believe, tomorrow, if his schedule allows him to. Probably very late in the day, so check out our Discord if you guys want to see when he goes live, or just follow the channel. Either one works. All right, have a good night, folks. Bye.
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 Bye.